Hey Jayme, good evening. Wanted to come on and respond to your discussion post. I enjoyed listening to your takeaways for this week's, or the last 2 weeks' materials. And the first one you talked about was Miss Sumner's TED Talk about the achievement gap was actually education debt. And a lot of what you talked about and what you experienced at your school, I experienced also, well, with my kids before we moved here to Columbia. We were in a very small rural town, and my girls, one was in at the primary school, and then my oldest was in 6th grade, and oh, she had a horrible year. Um, Horrible year. There was no opportunity for. Well, they had an after school program, but it was just glorified daycare. She would still come home. I'd have to struggle to do homework with her. It was bad. So I wanted to keep her in 6th grade, and the school district did not. They wanted to push her over to 7th grade, and at this point, the or maybe it was 5th grade. She was struggling in 5th grade, and so at this point, the 6th graders were going over to the high school. So 6th grade to the middle high school, and I was just like, she's not ready to go over there. She's not ready to go over there. She's not ready for 6th grade. And no, she's gonna be fine, you know. So we did summer school that year, and I actually had to pay to get her a tutor to get her where she needed to be in order to go to 6th grade. And she struggled. She struggled over there, and a lot of what you said, like there's the resources, the support, in these small communities. The education is not up to par, and we moved. I moved to Columbia, and for me as a single mom, it was a sacrifice. But I knew like my kids deserved so much more. They needed more than just school. They needed more than the materials. You know, they needed exposure to different things and different just activities. You know, once my daughter got here, she was in a free program to learn how to play the violin through USC. There's some program at the University of South Carolina. Um, just things like that she wouldn't have had an opportunity to be exposed to if we had stayed where we were. So I really could relate to her TED Talk. Um, I really enjoyed being the change agent. I really enjoyed that webinar with Miss Jones and Miss Murphy. Um, and you brought up the when she talked about, you know, the factoring diverse dietary needs, and also, you know, not all librarians drink alcohol. And I had to kind of chuckle because I'm like, when I go to these conferences, yeah, we have a good time. You know, it's like, you know, um, and I guess that's that stereotype. You know, librarians, you know, they have a good time. You know, they're tatted. You know, they're party animals. But I just thought that was funny. But it is true. We don't think about those things, and we should put that into practice. Um, I enjoyed you shared your experience of how you handle disciplinary um, actions versus your assistant teacher. And that's I was saying in my response to Brittany. Um, we just we have to like be empathetic. Like we have to be compassionate. Um, a lot of these kids go through a lot, and it's when they're at school, when they're in the libraries, that's the only love they get sometimes. And we have to treat every child the same, no matter what they look like, where they come from, how they look. It just doesn't matter. So I was sad to hear that she, had some favorites, and then, others get the business. Um, but I like your take on let's just try that again. I've always let's go back. Let's try that again. If they're talking too loud, are we using our inside voice? We have to be the role models for these kids, like, and we have to model what we want them to do. So I just wish she would do more of that. And there's always a teachable moment. If a kid's not doing the right thing, don't just send them back to class. Let's have a talk. Let's talk about how you came in, how, maybe you're too loud, or we don't come in the library. We use our inside voice when we're in the library. So, and like everybody hasn't grown up the same way. You know, I have a cousin. She did not want her son to answer adults. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Yes, sir. No, sir. But she did, you know, told him to say yes. So it's just, people's backgrounds. You just never know. I just think there's always a teachable moment in anything. So yeah, I enjoyed your post. Um, oh, one more thing. When you were talking about, um, you made a statement. We all need to try to be anti-racist, and how important diversity is, and how it's needed. And I thought about I can't remember. There was a TED talk. I can't remember her name a couple weeks ago, and she was saying that um, I think she I can't remember diversity, but she was making the she was calling it like a fruit platter, but we don't just want just the fruit on the platter, because just the fruit there does nothing. But if you make a fruit salad, you have all the fruit together, you're mixing it up, it's all coming together, all those different flavors, all those different smells, they're all coming together to make like an amazing salad. So that's what we want. We want diversity, because that just brings everybody together. All the different identities and all the different things that we bring to the table just makes it better. So I just want to end on that. Have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you next week.